once again on Turnbuckle Brothers, the podcast, the Roundtable. We sit and discuss all things Diamond Mine Online and Imagine Sports here on the King's Roundtable. With us, as always, is the Blue Chipper, the Day Tripper, the Lime Ripper, the man in which there isn't a big enough zipper, the King, Steve Matsu. And, of course, we have, as always, our good buddy, David Evans. Welcome back to the show, David. And with us, as always, is Tyler Inzer, the Canadian in California. We're back once again, and today we're going to talk about some questions from the board, maybe some old, weird, crazy stories from our past. Who knows? The sky's the limit on Turnbuckle Bros. But one thing we did decide to talk about today is that we put some questions out there again on the board, and we're going to pull it up and address them and talk about them. So let's go ahead and do that right now, you guys. And I'm just going to kind of go a little bit out of order here. I'm going to do one that everybody knows I like relievers. And so I wanted to find the question on here on the board about the reliever guys. And I lost it already. Okay, here it is. So bullpen setup. This one comes from Avalon Bob. He wants to know, how many guys do we have listed for each bullpen role, and how many roles for very good relievers especially? So let's start it off with Steve. Steve's kind of helped me develop my philosophies on bullpens. Bullpen setup, Steve. What is your go-to? What's a plan that you put in place?
Well, the pitcher I'm going to use the most, I put him in every role: long reliever, setup, and closer. My Superman long reliever. Then I just fill up the rest of the roles, with right-handed setup men, left-handed, every one in every slot. I think pretty standard. That's what you guys do.
What would the durability be for your Superman guy? Do you only use X guys in that role, or
whatever durability that guy is? Like I'm always playing in single season, so right now my guy in that role is Eric Shaw. I don't even know what his durability is. He's a starter, so it's probably very good.
Probably. So,
Tyler, is that something you always look at in relievers? Do you go to durability and check that out every time?
Yeah, it's especially in classic, where you can get if you're playing in a standard league where it's a standard era, you can get away with you can probably use 4 or 5 relievers for your whole team. But if you're doing that, you have to make sure that at least some of them have at least very good durability. When it comes to closers, I usually don't want someone with very good durability, because what I find is I either then have to list for that guy in multiple roles, in which case he won't be available in some high leverage closer situations, or you just list him in as the closer, but then you feel like you're paying for innings you didn't use, because the very good reliever just listed as closer probably won't get to 100 innings, which is usually what I like from a VG reliever.
So what about you, David? I mean, are you a heavy bullpen or as far as your roster goes kind of guy, or do you want that extra spot
in standard year playing in county? I usually only have 4, sometimes 5 relievers. But actually what I have is 3 swingmen, and 1, or 2 of them, an average of 1 of them will be available in the pen at any given time. And then 4 others, and some mop up guy who I'll activate from the minors if the swingman is available, or if I'm starting to run low on pitchers. Anyway, similarly to Tyler, my closer in those circumstances is usually average or sometimes fair, because I find the top relievers are really worth the money, but only if they're in the most critical situations. I don't need to pay those prices to give them more innings that aren't critical.
It's a good way of looking at it.
And I think
then I list, from the top 3 relievers I would want against lefties, the top 3 relievers I would want against righties, and my top 3 relievers who are available at all for long relief. It's the same. It's often the same guys, just in different orders for setup versus lefty, setup versus righty, and long relief. And then often, but not always, I'll also have somebody listed in mop-up.
So do you list guys on multiple roles, David?
I list people in setup and long relief all the time.
Okay. Because you sometimes see advice on the boards that you'll confuse the sim manager if you list guys on multiple roles. And I'm just
Right. That was first said by Charles maybe about 8 years ago. And yeah, I imagine if you don't do it right, that's true, but I do it and it works.
I'm the kind of guy that I like a heavy bullpen. I like to have as many relievers as I can. So if there's instances where, like in certain leagues, you might have an extra roster spot to where you can go heavier on, have an extra bench player or maybe the extra bullpen guy. I might be wrong in saying that, but I like to have a lot of arms in there. And so I'm the mop-up man, long reliever guy, don't really use all the time. That's not a huge priority to me. But, a long reliever is good to have, I've found. And what also, to go back to the confusing the sim manager thing, I've used guys as the setup and the closer before. I've kind of alternated between the two and tested them out, and the results are virtually the same for me. So I'm not kind of swung either way on that one there. But I'm thinking about changing Lee Smith to that role that I have in my league now, just based on it. So been losing too many games, and I think if he was maybe my closer and the setup guy, because he's great against both sides of the plate this year. It's awesome numbers against left-handers and right-handers. I might actually make that change.
Do you know his durability?
I don't know his durability, and that's honestly something I never look at, and I probably should.
It's pretty important.
The thing I micromanage the most. So when I say, I'll have 8 pitchers active, but I'll have 11 pitchers overall ready to. So if I go through a couple of extra inning games or blowouts where my relievers get blown out, I got fresh arms, lousy arms, but fresh arms I can bring in.
Sometimes I do depends how closely I'm watching my teams. If I have the energy to do this, it seems to be a good idea. You get a starter who lasts like 2 innings and only throws 30-something pitches because they got hammered. First of all, that drains your bullpen because everyone's going to be used pretty heavily. But after he needs 1 day off, the sim manager won't really use the guy who pitched yesterday unless it's an absolute emergency. But if you then list him as a reliever for the second game after his start and take him out of your pitchers by game, like make sure he's not scheduled to pitch in the next couple of days, then the sim manager will use him out of the bullpen. And then after that, you have to remember to switch him back to put him back in to start.
Absolutely. I set my rotation after every game. I don't worry about pitchers by game because if you're micromanaging that much, the pitchers by game is a real pain in the ass where you have to not have somebody listed in consecutive starts and stuff. It's just I don't want to be setting 40 pitchers when I could set 4.
One other thing about bullpens, and I like to have a dedicated mop-up man because I'm walking the line on the amount of innings I have. How many I like to have somebody, if I've got some wasted innings, just a 500K guy with a lot of innings, because when I cash him in, I want him to still be worth something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then just let that guy waste those innings.
Yep.
So,
SSG mop-up, a separate mop-up guy is excellent.
Do you ever not list a mop-up guy, David?
Yeah. If I've got 3 long relievers listed, if I need a mop-up situation, I'm going to need a long reliever anyway. So I don't care if the manager pulls one of the long relievers. Sometimes if one guy is really just much worse, then I'll put it, and I'm worried, that I might win a mop-up or lose a mop-up and never call a long reliever, then I'll list somebody in the mop-up.
One last thing on bullpen work here for Steve. Steve, what are your thoughts on the closer role?
I don't really care about the closer role, other than I'm trying to get 20 saves and 20 wins in one season, and that's what I use it for. Other than that, it's just another. Basically, my right-handed setup man and my close, they pretty much look the same on each side.
Your closer's getting 20 wins. I feel like your closer's blowing a lot of save opportunities.
No, I'm trying to get a pitcher. I've been trying forever to get a pitcher to have 20 wins and 20 saves in the same season. So sometimes I'll have like a starter who'll get like 12 wins right away, before the All-Star break or something. Yeah, then he goes to the closer because I'm more worried about that 20 wins he say actually winning. I can't do it. I've never even really got that close. It's really hard to do.
One other thing that I think I've seen David talk about this on the boards. I think there's some misunderstandings about how, especially in the standard era where you've got a small bullpen, I think there's misunderstandings about the closer versus left and closer versus right.
Yes.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that?
If the sim who the sim will choose to bring in is based on the next few batters. But once that guy is in, if the sim said, oh, this is a closer situation, we're going to bring somebody in, the sim is not looking to take them out just because they're facing the wrong side now. They are expected to close the game. So using platoon closers doesn't work very well. Using platoon setup men works somewhat better.
All right.
The guys in the closer role should have good splits.
Yeah, because they're going to face a lot of pinch hitters. So
let's move on. Let's move on to a question from friend of the show, Past Ball. So shout out to Past Ball. What's happening, my man? And I want to do this question because I don't know what any of these are. What is the opinion on data like GDPF, XBF, SBF, KF? Any benefit at looking at these numbers? I have no idea what the hell any of those are.
That's how often each of those things happen. GDP, K, etc.
Okay, let's talk about it. What the hell is GDPF?
Grounded into double plays frequency.
Okay, is that something you guys even look at?
But it's one with a lower actual, if I remember right, lower means more.
Lower is more double. So, okay, I get so confused by this number that I actually transform it in my spreadsheet so that I can interpret it. If you go 1 over GDPF times 100, it turns into a percent of the plate appearances that the guy hits into a double play or whatever.
Right. That's in my runs created formula. I don't use stats runs created formula, but it's definitely in there.
What does the F mean at the end of it?
Frequency.
Factor.
I thought it was frequency. Okay.
So, grounded to double play factor, extra base
frequency
hit.
Probably works too.
Well, is XB, is that extra base
yes.
hit?
Yeah.
Yes.
Extra base hit factor, stolen base factor, strikeout factor. Okay.
I use the other time that I use, so GDPF and it is in my formulas, so is strikeout somewhere. The other place I use it though is in lineup construction because there's certain your three hitter, if your three hitter hits into a lot of double plays, it's really bad. All of the sabermetric statistics suggests that, all else being equal, you don't want a crappy hitter in the 3 hole, but all else being equal, you should have your 3 hitter be one of your best hitters at avoiding double plays because you want to get to that cleanup hitter without making the last out of the inning. You want to get that cleanup hitter up with runners on base. And this is, of course, assuming the lineup construction where you have your best hitter second and your second best hitter fourth.
I was just going to say that's assuming that your best hitter is obviously in the 2 hole. Where you
2 and 4 holes,
Yeah.
And a lot of these things are also useful in deciding who should hit and run.
Right.
Very interesting. Something that I don't really look at all, but maybe I should. Maybe guys like me who don't look at every single statistic, every single category, all that stuff all the time. Maybe it's worth looking at.
Small advantages.
Yeah.
But see, that's the thing. If it works out to just a small advantage, I mean, it might not be worth my time personally because I don't even have a lot of time because of work and life and everything to manage.
But I've already got these things in my formulas. I don't have to look at them each time, and you build these formulas up each time over the years. And so now maybe I'm working with 30 small advantages that you're not.
And some of them can just be inferred, like you don't really need to see base on ball factor because you see their batting average and you see their OBP, and if there's 100 points between the two, they walk a lot.
I've never looked at BBF.
I don't actually look at the factors at all because
a lot of them can be just inferred.
I don't even look at OBP or BA either. I got the raw stats, how many times each thing has happened, and that all goes into my formulas.
And I'll say too that sometimes looking at GDPF can get you into trouble because technically, I believe if if my formulas say so-and-so is the best option at this position, I should probably go with it. If I see that he's got an alarmingly high rate at grounding into double plays, I sometimes will avoid that player anyway because double plays are really frustrating.
Sometimes GDPF GDPF will get you in trouble because it means something totally different.
What does it mean? Totally different.
I don't get it.
DP. Look it up.
Okay, but that's
Oh,
surrounded by a couple of other letters. It doesn't.
I know. Make sure you put the crickets in there in the post edit. Gig it. Anyways, moving right along. I guess let's talk about this one. Also from Past Ball. Didn't see that, but here's one. He says, a lot of talk about injuries. We talked about this a little bit earlier offline. How about an explanation on managing duration and frequency of injuries? Easy for me to say. So what he's saying is here, injury, the INJ by number, by days, max days, and so on and so forth, innings pitched and so on. I take it DVD's probably a guy who looks at this to tell us.
I only look at the injury factor and hit by pitch, because hit by pitch is an adjustment to how often somebody's going to get injured, and especially long injuries.
Steve, is that something that you've ever looked at, hit by pitch? Is that something you factor in at all?
I mean, if they're fragile, you do have to worry about that. Or, if they get hurt a lot, you do have to worry about that.
I mean, I just picked up Bake McBride in the league. I just lost in the playoffs because I picked up Bake McBride, who was prone, and he got hit in the first game of the playoffs, and then he's out. So I picked I picked him up just before week 9, and he missed a good bit of that, getting hit by one pitch, and then I go into the playoffs and he gets hit by another pitch. What did I pick him up for?
I think Chase Utley might be another one of those guys who gets hit by a lot of pitches, isn't he?
Hey, DVD, his name should be more like Break McBride.
Baked McBride.
Yes. Baked McBride. Oh, man. I just realized that. So injuries are going to be on in this supposed league that maybe we should talk about too.
So have you ever played in an injuries on league, Matt?
No, that's what I was just thinking. I said, oh man, I'm going to have to look at that. Something I've never had to do before. I've never played with injuries on. Only when the commish left them on by mistake for the first what was it? The first 9 or 16 games. Steve got totally screwed about that a few seasons ago.
Oh yeah, I got hammered. He left the injuries on for just a couple days and turned them back off. But in them couple days, I got smashed. Nobody else did.
Steve was the only guy who got any injuries, and they were like super significant. He had like 3 of them. They were really
long
bad.
ones.
Yeah, they were really bad.
This is how I deal with injuries.
Classic.
I deal with them with a piss poor attitude. That's how I deal with them. I don't like
it. You need a backup middle infielder who can play shortstop. If he can play short, he can play second.
Yep.
You need a backup center fielder. He can cover left and right also. And then you need people who can cover first and third. Probably separate guys, could be the same. You're already going to have a backup catcher.
Pretty sure a shortstop can cover first if they're if you have a VP,
but it's more than a one. It's yeah.
He's just good at second. Average at first.
If I remember right, it's a 2-level drop for first. It might only be a 1, but it's no drop at all to play second.
Right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's at least that old article that everybody cites. I'm almost positive it says shortstops lose 1 band when they move to first.
That's not
and
so
2
bad.
if they move to third.
But the thing is, a backup first baseman who can also be your pinch hitter is going to hit a lot better than your backup shortstop.
Well, how about we wrap today's show up and let's talk about this league that we're going to join. Kind of a turnbuckle league. There's going to be a 600-player pool. There's lots of controversy about it already. We have a lot of talk about it within us. So, David, why don't you briefly tell us about this league? We are all going to get in and play against each other and talk about it on the show.
Okay, so the RA 600 has been a very successful format in the ladders for the last 15 years or so. I don't know exactly how long. So I figured that we should get a league with us and some of the other best players, especially players who are giving advice and who are willing to discuss the league on the forums. And so that's what this is going to be. We're going to discuss it here. We're going to discuss it in the forums, and everybody can learn from us running these teams and explaining what we're doing and why we disagree with each other.
That's right. And we're going to separate the men from the boys, and we're going to find out who the ham and eggers and jabronis are and who the real winners are on this show. Isn't that right, Steve?
I don't know. I think we're all going to be pretty equal. Like that, the league is that pool is full of a bunch of good players. We're all going to have a good team.
It's going to be interesting. Let's see who can compete and make it to the end of
the
this.
league name to find it on the custom. Well, you're going to have to message me for the password, but it's put your credit where your ... because put your credit where your mouth is didn't fit in the league name.
Put your credit where it is. Do you think that you could step up to the plate and join a league with us and defeat us? Let's get in on this. We've got some spots open in the league. If you're interested, put your money where your blank ... is. All right? Join it if you're interested. If you want to play with us, hey, you might even get a chance to be on the show and talk about it with us. Be glad to have anybody on here who wants to join. Get a hold of DVD, and if you are worthy of joining the league with us, jump on in. We're going to draft our teams. We're going to talk about it on the show. And like I said, we're going to separate the men from them boys. That's what we're going to do. How fun would this
league be if I start off the season 13-3 or something? All right, you know what I mean? How fun would that league be if I could just talk shit the whole way through?
It wouldn't be that fun.
I'm going to talk shit the whole way through regardless, but you know,
probably be more fun than if I start 13-3 because I probably won't talk shit.
If you start 13-3, we're all talking shit on you.
If I start off 3-13, I expect to be like shit, multitudes of shit piled upon me.
I'm gonna shit on you so hard if you start 3-13. It's gonna be unrelenting.
I would expect nothing less.
Okay, so I know we're
better be creative and funny.
This you've just intrigued me on a question. Does anyone have a memory of their worst start to a season? Like how bad has your start to a season ever been? I haven't played enough. I haven't had any awful starts like 3-13 or anything like that.
Yeah, I think I was like 5-16 once.
Oh God.
Finished over 500.
It's bound to have happened to David and Steve at some point because you guys have played for so long and played so many games. I've had several terrible seasons, but I don't know if I don't remember my worst start off. I mean, I probably had something similar to what DVD said, maybe. But
one season,
I've been in last place a few times. That's for sure.
Have you guys ever had an 18-0 week?
No. I just had like a 16-game winning streak, though. That was pretty cool.
Dang.
Yeah, nice.
That's a good one.
Beats me by one.
I might have the number wrong too, though. I'm doing this.
I don't know if I've been. I don't know if I've ever been close to that. Maybe 6 or 7, maybe would be a win streak for me, at best. But I win lots of series though.
My
2 out of 3, baby. Winning series, that's the way to go.
My first team had 2 10-game winning streaks and 2 10-game losing streaks.
Wow,
it's kind of crazy.
That is crazy.
And that's in Classic. I mean, in SSG, you might expect variation depending on how you're managing the roster. But in Classic, that's remarkable.
That's another thing we should mention. I'm finally playing a Classic League. This is going to be my first one.
And the next league has to be SSG with these 2 fucking guys in it.
Yeah, these 2 goons are playing. Yeah, okay, all right. Let's lay out the challenge right now, DVD. This is my first ever Classic League. I'm playing it with you guys. It's going to be live for the world to see. Everybody's going to... It's finally happened. Even people talk about it on the boards now. Well, Matt doesn't play Classic, and Tyler doesn't play SSG. It's like everyone knows it, and they talk about it. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this league, see how it pans out, and then after that, we'll have the same kind of league, but we'll do an SSG league. What do you say? Right now, the challenge has been laid.
I'm in.
All right. There it is.
Tyler, you didn't say challenge accepted.
Tyler.
I don't know. We'll
Chat-
see.
Challenge
Come on,
accepted.
Tyler.
No. I'm
Tyler,
not
do
getting
you
that.
accept my challenge? Do you accept my challenge, Tyler? Answer me right now.
No,
Channel your inner Barney Stinson.
I don't know who that is.
Oh my Lord. On that note, I think that's
You know who Barney Stinson is, don't you?
I never heard the name before.
Oh,
Oh Lord, he's legend. Wait for it, Dairy.
exactly. On
You
that,
know yet?
I'm so disgusted.
He's
by-
one of the
by-
most
by the
famous
revelation.
characters in television history.
One of the most
Barney
famous
Stinson.
what in television history?
Characters.
Barney Stinson is the character played by Neil Patrick Harris on the show How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
I have watched very little TV in the last 25 years.
We can tell. I'm just kidding.
I watched a whole lot of TV in the 40 years before that, or not
Yeah.
quite 40. I'm not.
I'm
that
the
old,
opposite of
almost.
that.
But he always says, challenge accepted about everything. All you got to do is challenge him something and he'll accept it.
Tyler, do you accept my challenge?
No, not without. I maybe I have to. I'm not.
It's
committing
just
to
an
anything.
SSG league. We'll be
It's just
same
one
rules.
league, bro.
Same damn
Come
rules,
on,
all right?
man.
We'll
Right
just-
now.
Let's discuss the rules before he makes up his mind.
Yeah.
How about the
All
same
right.
damn rules?
What
same
say,
rules.
The one you picked for this league.
Oh,
Can we turn off PTL?
That'll be. You don't want to do that.
And
No.
limit it to people who
You
have.
don't
want
want to do that. Because
Yeah, I
then,
don't
like
want to.
Roger Freed will hit 75 home
No.
runs.
You'd have to play it in. You'd have to limit it to people who had a sufficient sample size of plate appearances.
Well, okay. How about you verbally agree right now, pending league rules and changes? All right. So,
Sure.
okay. Yes.
But I don't know if other people will be in if I do that.
All right. I'm sure people will join because people will want to dethrone the Turnbuckle Bros. But it ain't going to happen because I'm going to win both leagues. Anyways, let's go ahead and end the show for our buddies Tyler and DVD. These are the Turnbuckle Bros. Once again saying ID friggin' os.